by the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. My name is Barbara Young, and I'm your moderator this afternoon, and I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of the Lake Beach area. And just to make a quick announcement, this program will air throughout the month of March on Comcast Channel 6, AT&T Elmhurst Channel 99, and also the Elmhurst TV website, which is www.elmhursttv.com. And this portion of the forum will be speaking with the two candidates for 6th Ward of the Elmhurst City Council. And there are two candidates, and you can only vote for one. So we'll be hearing from Jim Kennedy and Ron Sabonia, and they'll each begin with a 2-minute opening statement. Then we have a series of questions that they've been given ahead of time. If anyone in the audience would like to submit a question to be read as well, you need to give it to one of the members of the league, and they'll provide that question to me. Otherwise, we'll just stick with these pre-ordered questions. So, Jim, we'll start with you with your opening statement.
Thank you, Barbara, and thank you to Lee with Women Voters for hosting the forum. My name is Jim Kennedy, and I'm a candidate for Alderman in the 6th Ward. I'm a lifelong Elmhurst resident and was born at the old Elmhurst Hospital off of Schiller Avenue. I'm a graduate of Immaculate Conception grade school and high school. I've lived here again my whole life. I have 3 children in the 205 system, 2 in Bryan and 1 at Jefferson, and my wife Michelle is a graduate of York High School. I'm a parishioner of Biz and have had the honor of serving the 6th Ward in the city of Elmhurst for the past 8 years and look forward to doing so in the future. We have many challenges in this community, and I look forward to meeting those challenges with being in Elmhurst for another 4 years. Thank you.
Ron?
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Sabonia, and I'm with Ronald Kane Sabonia. I've lived in the Chicago area my entire life, but I'm a relative newcomer in Elmhurst that only lived here for 26 years. I'm a graduate of Northwestern University in Evanston, where I have a degree in political science. My wife, Madeline, and I have raised 2 children in District 205 schools. We are members of Elmhurst CRC Church on Thrushville Road. I volunteered extensively in the community, especially with the Boy Scouts of America. As a youth, I earned the rank of Eagle Scout. And I've been honored by the Scout Council in 2012 for impact on lives in the our area. I was very humble. Professionally, I started as a runner at the Chicago Board of Trade and progressed from being a runner to being a board trader, both the board and Chicago. Stormwater and flooding issues, communications between the 3 relevant entities faltered. Where before there were regular meetings involving members of each taxing body, the City of Elmhurst chose to hold off on intergovernmental meetings until flooding concerns were ameliorated. Allowing communications to break down seems to me a short-sighted strategy, even though stormwater management is important. Maintaining informed, thoughtful dialogue is all about all governmental issues and concerns is just as important. Communication and personal interaction are fundamental keys to building and maintaining relationships. And while each of the taxing bodies has a different focus, the overall goal of fostering an Elmhurst that people want to live, work, and raise their children in is identical. Reinvigorating communications and scheduling regular in-person meetings is the first step in improving the working relationship between the Park District, the school district, and the city. Additionally, we must promote the idea that while each body has different responsibilities, we share one overall goal: making and keeping Elmhurst the kind of community that people want to live in.
Jim?
Well, first I'd like to say I think Ron stole my answer, but other than that, what I would say is that the three taxing bodies cover different maps. They have different visions, but in the end, they share one set of stakeholders. And what I would like for us to do is to go back to the days in which the 3 groups got together and worked on shared projects. In the past, we've worked on vehicle maintenance for the Park District. That's something that continues today. We've worked on paving projects with the Park District and also various projects that have helped the 205 unit district. All of this communication starts with understanding. We're all very different groups. We have different needs and wants, but in the end, we have to do what is best for the taxpayers of Elmhurst and work together because that's what they expect us to do. Thank you.
Okay, now a question from the audience. We'll start with Jim. What encouraged you to run for this position?
8 years ago, when I ran for alderman, it was to give back, similar to what Ron said. It's very easy to sit back and complain that you haven't done anything, but to get up and roll up your sleeves and do it again, and do it is what drew me to it. The reason why I'm running again is with our efforts in stormwater, there's still much left to do. And although we've finished a number of projects, there are still those related to the Pine Street area and areas around College View, among others, that need to be addressed, and I'd like to use these next 4 years to get those done. Thank you.
And Ron, what encouraged you to run?
Well, I think I kind of covered that in my opening statement, but essentially, you can sit back and complain, or you can roll up your sleeves, become involved. Now, I've done that before in scouting. I think I've touched a lot of lives, and I'm very proud of that. But now there's an opportunity for a new step and new involvement. And let's face it, this is essentially a volunteer position that is largely thankless and a lightning rod for criticism. Thankfully, I think scouting has prepared me for that.
All right, now going to Ron with question number 2. Streamlining and consolidation of services throughout the state and county is a growing topic. Do you believe the city has an opportunity to consolidate services with other surrounding communities? If yes, explain where and how you see this developing. If no, explain why not.
Well, I think generally all units and departments of local government should explore the possibility of consolidating services when both practical and financially efficient. Difficulties arise when law enforcement and fire protection consolidation are considered, and the untangling of financial support, pensions, and collective bargaining agreements is weighed. Day-to-day back office operations like payroll administration, training, pension administration, and others offer more opportunities for gains in administrative efficiencies and should continue to be further explored. It is worth noting that both public safety departments already have long-standing arrangements for shared response and supplemental coverage with surrounding communities, and both the police and fire department participate in regional task force groups and provide for emergency coordinated action that transcends governmental and political unit boundaries. Consolidation and streamlining are really about attitude and finding opportunities. Beyond the police and fire departments, the city of Elmhurst should actively seek consolidation and streamlining with other governmental units whenever practicable. Essentially, every time we consider an activity, service, or function, we should ask ourselves, does someone else do this already? And is there a way that we can share the cost and reap the benefit? Thank you.
Thank you. Question from the audience. What can be done to provide safe crossing of Butterfield from the south to the park? And I'll start with Ron on that one.
You know, essentially the problem with Butterfield Road and you know, as the state knows it, Illinois Route 56, is that it's a state road. We don't control the crossing or the maintenance of the road. This is a problem for residents, especially in the southeast corner of Ward 6. And I think what we need to do is push the state to listen to us and eventually, once they repair Butterfield Road, consider taking over maintenance and operation of Butterfield Road. I think that's the solution.
Okay, Jim?
Thank you, Barb. This is a great question because this is something we've dealt with in our Public Works Committee, and we've already gotten approval from the state of Illinois to put in a crosswalk. That work has been largely completed from the engineering standpoint by the Public Works Committee and by the city staff. And so when the weather breaks in the spring, we'll be putting in a crosswalk for folks on both sides of Butterfield to be able to cross that throughway. Thank you.
Glad to hear. All right, next question, number 3. How do you see the city maintaining and growing our infrastructure with the recent additions of several new housing developments situated in or so close to the center of our community? Example of areas in housing development are at Schiller and Berto Apartments, at York and North and York and Schiller Development. And we'll start with Jim.
Okay, thank you. The number one thing that we need to do to deal with the infrastructure is first to budget for the improvement. We've spent as a city a great deal of money to address our roads and traffic, and that was mostly done here recently with the construction of the parking garage on Addison Street. That has helped us to be able to reduce street congestion and eliminate the need for a lot of on-street parking, and when that parking is needed, it's for the businesses right in that area. One of the areas that we've already taken steps as a city and are working with further is related to stormwater management. The two developments at Hahn Street and also with the parking garage have included stormwater management aspects so that during heavy rains, the water that falls on those areas goes into a detention area before it's released to the storm sewer system. So as we move forward, we're going to be putting in ordinances in effect so that when there's new development, it will require that additional stormwater be detained on those areas. Thank you.
And Ron, your thoughts on maintaining and growing the infrastructure?
Well, frankly, more of the burden of infrastructure improvements needs to be shared by developers. When I spoke to commercial real estate professionals, they shared the feeling that Elmhurst downtown might finally be reaching critical mass, where leasing and development aren't as dependent on city subsidy and support. The city must approach continued development with an eye toward the future. We need to begin asking ourselves questions about future trends and likely lifestyles of the next generation of Elmhurst residents. Improved focus on transportation-oriented development, TODs, is likely to attract millennials who increasingly will desire public transit as a commuting option. Revenue generation also has to be a concern, as shopping habits continue to shift from traditional brick-and-mortar retailers to multi-channel retailers. The city of Elmhurst will need to adapt to the loss of sales tax revenue and consider other forms of revenue generation. In all cases, the critical element of success for any municipality is thoughtful rather than reactive planning. We all know that Elmhurst is a fairly well-run city. If we have an Achilles heel, it's in city government, it's planning. We have too often reacted to events and conditions rather than proceeded according to a plan. What Elmhurst must do for our future is continue to adapt to near-term needs and plan for the futures and weigh ideas so that in the future, decisions can be carefully considered before being acted.
Thank you. Now, question number 4, we'll start with Ron. The health of our environment is crucial. Where would you like to see the focus of the Sustainability Task Force?
Well, the Sustainability Task Force has actually slipped away. It has apparently, from what I can gather from the city website, not met regularly. And I think that that's a problem, and I think we need to reinvigorate that committee's and task force focus. One of the things that I'd like to do is move beyond, right now I think the city lists a cooking oil program, a pumpkin recycling program, and stormwater programs, and it's time to expand opportunities for residents so they can decrease their household footprint. As a cyclist, I'd add that the bicycle task force needs to be resurrected, but transformed, so that its mission centers on complete streets. That's a model of roadway building that takes into account mass transit, cyclists, autos, and pedestrians, so that everybody gets the benefit of being there. Additionally, the city should continue to look for ways to reduce its operational environmental impact. Finally, I think developers need to be encouraged to seek LEED certification for all new projects. In short, we need to seek out the 1,000 little things that we can do so that a much larger positive cumulative effect can be achieved. Thank you.
And Jim, what are your thoughts on the health of the environment?
Thank you. For us to do a better job of sustainability, we not only need to do a good job as a city, but we need to bring the resources and the attention of all of our residents to help us be a more sustainable community. When we talk about sustainability, we need to look at the 3 tenets, which are reduce, reuse, and recycle. As a city right now, anytime we buy a vehicle, we will go out and look to see if we can find a type of vehicle that uses E85 or another means, electric or otherwise, of the most efficient means for that vehicle to be run. In our buildings, we're constantly looking for ways to reduce energy, be it through heating or through lighting. From a reuse standpoint, anytime we pave, we look to see if we can use recycled materials, and the materials that are used, that are created when we grind streets, are ultimately recycled, if not into our own roads, but other roads in the local area. More recently, when we did local stormwater detention, there were areas both on Washington and on Geneva where the city bought homes and removed them. But prior to those being removed and creating detention, we worked with Habitat for Humanity to have them come in and take all the building materials out of those buildings so that they could be reused in other homes. Lastly, as a recycling standpoint, Elmhurst is recognized as one of the best recyclers in the area when we talk to the waste haulers. What I would like to see us doing going forward is doing more in terms of recycling of electronics and household chemicals, which right now are difficult for residents to recycle. Thank you.
Okay. Now I'm going to do the fifth question, and I'm going to start with Jen, and we will have time for closing statement. So, question 5. What do you see as the greatest challenges facing the city in the next 4 years, and how would you address them?
Thank you. The number one challenge that I see is the city is the one that we've made our number one priority and the one that our residents have made the number one priority, and that is stormwater management. We've completed a number of projects, but we still, as I said before, have a lot to do. There are areas of Pine Street, College View, and the Sailor Swing and Villette area that have yet to have improvements that, should we get another large storm, they will be impacted severely. The second is economic development. We as a city need to continue to focus on economic development because that's what makes our city viable. We have to realize that we're in competition with every other community in DuPage County and those communities near us in Cook County for new business and the retention of the business we already have. We can't take our eye off the ball. We need to make sure that's a big part of what we do, because should we not have the economic development, the burden for everything that we have in this town then falls upon the residents. Thirdly is our pension commitments. As we have an aging workforce in the city and we have the collective bargaining and the unionized workforce that we do, they have pensions, and as they move into retirement, those challenges are greater and greater. Thankfully, as a city, we have always funded our pensions, and so that's something we need to focus on continually going forward. And the last piece I would say is the tax burden in general on our residents. There is discussions now about a referendum for 205 to improve the educational needs of our community. Those may very well be the right things for us to do. Additionally, there's talk of an athletic complex to be built. What we all need to understand is that the city of Elmhurst and its residents have a finite amount of money, and that we cannot be foolish in spending that money. Thank you.
Ron?
I'm going to take a little different tack. To me, the greatest challenge facing all municipalities in the state of Illinois continues to be the state of Illinois itself. The state's inability to fix its own budget crisis has resulted in uncertainty that's crushing development in planning for residents, businesses, and other levels of government. This can't be allowed to continue. The city of Elmhurst will need to be financially sober and cautious. Future planning for the city has got to build self-reliance while at the same time pushing our elected officials at the state level to move toward working things out. If, as the old axiom suggests, good government is good politics and good politics is good government, we have too little of either emanating from Springfield. And it's time for cities like Elmhurst to become examples of leadership, governance, and fiscal responsibility for Springfield.